The Wall of Spite, a teacher's fight against a corrupt HOA. The morning air in the Colorado Rockies was sharp, the kind that bites your lungs and wakes you up whether you like it or not. I stood on the porch of my cabin, coffee mug in hand, staring at a monstrosity that hadn't been there the night before. A 10-foot wall of black steel, topped with coils of razor wire, blocked the only road leading down the mountain. It wasn't just a barrier, it was a prison fence, complete with a concrete foundation and a glossy logo of the Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association slapped dead center. My heart sank, then boiled. I was trapped. My name's Daniel Harper, a third-grade teacher who'd poured every dime of my savings into this cabin after my wife left me for the school superintendent. The betrayal stung, but I'd bought this Plasamy grandfather's old retreat for peace, for healing. Pinewood Estates, the upscale neighborhood at the base of the mountain, had been creeping up the slopes, its HOA flexing its muscles over the years. My cabin, though, sat just outside their jurisdiction. Or so I thought. 2 weeks earlier, I'd gotten a bill in the mail, $500 a month for road maintenance from Pinewood HOA. I laughed it off at first. Me grandfather's easement papers from 1972 guaranteed free access to the road. No fees, no HOA nonsense. I dug through his old files, found the documents, and sent a polite email to Evelyn Caldwell, the HOA president, with scans attached. Her reply was 4 words, "We'll see about that." I should have known trouble was coming when the birds stopped singing that morning. The mountains are never silent, but this was a graveyard quiet. I called 911, my hands shaking as I described the wall. The dispatcher sighed. "Sounds like a civil matter, sir. Get a lawyer." I insisted I was being imprisoned on my land. She sent an officer, who showed up, took one look, and shrugged. "HOA says it's their road. Nothing I can do." That's when Evelyn appeared, her tailored blazer pristine, her smile venomous. "Oh, Daniel," she purred, like I was a misbehaving kid in her office. "I warned you about those fees. This is just a reminder of what happens when you don't contribute to our community." She gestured at the wall like it was a prize on a game show. "Sell your cabin to me, and this all goes away." I felt something snap, not rage, but clarity. I'd spent a decade wrangling 8-year-olds who threw tantrums and scissors. If Evelyn thought she could bully me, she'd picked the wrong fight. I told her, voice steady, "You can't do this." She laughed, leaning close enough for me to smell her perfume floral with a hint of decay. "Check your property lines, Mr. Harper. This wall's on HOA land. Enjoy your view." As her sleek SUV vanished down the mountain, my neighbor, George Mason, emerged from the trees. At 68, he moved like a shadow, a habit from his days in the military. "Seen this before," he growled, handing me a crumpled business card for a lawyer named Victor Alvarez. "Evelyn's forced out 3 other cabin owners with stunts like this. She messed up, though. Teachers don't quit." That night, I sat in my darkening cabin, the wall blocking the moonlight. Grading papers by lantern, I heard my mother's voice in my head, "Stand up for what's right, even when it's hard." I emailed Victor. Then a new message popped, UPA photo of my bedroom, taken from inside while I slept. The subject line, "Nice place. Shame if something happened." Finding a lawyer to take on Pinewood was like asking for a snowball in July. 5 firms turned me down, one paralegal whispering, "Evelyn's got connections. We can't touch her." I was ready to give up, nursing a coffee in town, when Victor Alvarez slid into my booth. "You taught my son, Tommy, last year," he said, his smile warm but his eyes sharp. "He still talks about the solar system project you did. Changed his life." Victor was young, maybe 27, with a beat-up briefcase and a fire in his voice. He showed me a photo of his father, a proud restaurant owner, then another of the same man, broken by a Texas HOA's relentless fines. "They killed him," Victor said. "I became a lawyer to burn corrupt HOAs to the ground." "Your case?" "It's personal." In his tiny officia converted storage uni that showed me Pinewood's charter. The signatures tying my cabin to the HOA were forged. Evelyn had filed fake documents with the county. "This isn't just wrong," Victor said. "It's criminal." We documented the wall, measuring every inch. It was 3 inches over the easement line trespassing. Then the utilities went out. A notice on my door claimed safety concerns reported by the HOA. I laughed because Victor had predicted this. "She'll escalate," he'd said. "Keep records." So I did, filming every dry faucet, every deadlight switch. My students noticed the strain. "Mr. Harper, you look tired," said Lily, her small face creased with worry. "Is someone being mean to you?" I forced a smile. "Just grown-up problems, kiddo." But her words stuck. "Bullies only win if you let them." I was fighting for more than my cabin now. I was fighting for them. The days blurred into a strange rhythm. Teaching by day, battling Evelyn Caldwell's HOA by night. I'd stand in front of my third graders, explaining fractions or reading Charlotte's Web, while in the back of my mind, I was cataloging every move the Pinewood Estates HOA made against me. Victor Alvarez, my lawyer, was a whirlwind of energy, piecing together a case that went beyond the wall. "This isn't just about you, Daniel," he said one evening, his desk buried under property records. "Evelyn's running a racket, and we're going to expose it." The wall was only the beginning. After the utilities were cut, I lived like a camper generator for power, bottled water for drinking, and showers at the local gym. The HOA's next move was psychological warfare. Anonymous calls woke me at 3 a.m., just heavy breathing before the line went dead. My car tires were slashed in the school parking lot. Someone spray-painted "troublemaker" on my classroom door, though the janitor, bless him, scrubbed it clean before the kids arrived. Each attack felt like a test, and I wasn't about to fail. Victor had warned me that Evelyn would try to break me. "She's done this before," he said. 3 other cabin owners sold after she made their lives hell. But Evelyn underestimated the community around a teacher. When word of the vandalism spread, the parents of my students rallied. 20 showed up at my cabin with tools, food, and fierce determination. "You helped my boy with his stutter," one dad said, hauling a generator. "Nobody messes with you on our watch." They set up shifts to guard my property, shared my story online with Teacher vs. HOA, and turned my fight into a local cause. The hashtag trended, and a news crew from Denver picked it up, David versus Goliath in the Rockies. The real breakthrough came from an unexpected ally. Late one night, Karen Thompson, a Pinewood HOA board member, knocked on my door. Her hands trembled as she handed me a USB drive. "I can't live with this anymore," she whispered. "Evelyn's been stealing from the HOA for years. It's all here: financial records, meeting minutes, everything." She glanced over her shoulder, as if Evelyn might be lurking in the pines. "She's in bed with Summit Ventures, a developer. They want this whole mountainside for a $50 million resort project. Your cabin's the last holdout." Karen's bombshell didn't stop there. "Evelyn gets a 10% commission and a penthouse in the resort," she said. "She's bought out 8 of the 10 cabins up here. Only you and George Mason are left." As her car disappeared into the night, Victor called, his voice electric. "Daniel, you won't believe this. I've been digging into property records. There's something under your mountain worth more than any resort. Meet me at my office at dawn." Victor's office looked like a crime drama set, maps pinned to the walls, red string connecting dots. He hadn't slept, fueled by coffee that smelled like tar. "Summit Ventures is a shell company," he said, spreading out geological surveys. "They're not building a resort. They're after rare earth minerals, lithium and cobalt, worth $500 million. Your cabin's sitting on the motherlode." The surveys, dated 2 years ago, showed drilling activity at night, which George had mentioned seeing. Summit planned to buy the land cheap, discover the minerals during construction, and make a fortune. Victor played an audio file from Karen's USB. Evelyn's voice, cold and clear, filled the room. "The teacher won't last another month. Once we cut his utilities, he'll beg to sell, like the others." A man's voice, polished and unfamiliar, replied. "The investors are impatient, Evelyn. We need that land by December." She laughed. "Don't worry. If the wall and utilities don't work, I have other methods. Accidents happen in old cabins: faulty wiring, gas leaks. Tragic." My stomach churned. She wasn't just bullying me. She was plotting my death. We spent the next week building our case. I'd teach my kids about honesty and courage, then go home to document Evelyn's crimes. The irony wasn't lost on me. Victor filed a lawsuit with a laundry list of charges: fraud, embezzlement, harassment, false imprisonment, and conspiracy. The courthouse clerk blinked when she saw Evelyn's name. "You're suing her? Good luck." But luck wasn't what we needed. Judge William Carter, rumored to be in Evelyn's pocket, surprised us by reading our filing. Maybe it was the evidence, Or maybe it was Victor's clever choice of jurisdiction. Carter's brother had lost his home to an HOA years ago. Whatever the reason, he scheduled an emergency hearing. Evelyn's retaliation was swift. More calls in the dead of night. A brick through my cabin window. My students' parents doubled down, organizing meal trains and patrolling my property. The community's support was a lifeline, but the pressure was crushing. I called my sister in Boulder, voice breaking. Maybe I should sell, take whatever she offers. She shut me down. Daniel Thomas Harper, you've taught kids to stand up to bullies for years. What kind of teacher quits? She was right. I wasn't fighting for just me anymore. The weekend before the hearing, Victor got a call from my contractor friend, Mike Larson. 2 years ago, I did some late-night work for Pinewood, Mike said. They made me sign an NDA, but it's expired. They had me reinforce the HOA clubhouse foundation not for structural reasons, but for some kind of underground storage. Locked rooms, climate control, like a bunker. Karen risked everything to get us into that basement during an HOA meeting. She faked a stomach bug and slipped downstairs. What she found was staggering. Stacks of cash, gold bars, geological maps marked for mineral extraction, and a folder labeled Accident Protocols with my name on it. The smoking gun was a contract between Evelyn and Summit's parent company, detailing the mineral plan and budgeting for obstacle removal, a euphemism for dealing with holdouts like me. Permanent solutions authorized, the addendum read. My blood ran cold. Evelyn wasn't just greedy. She was ruthless. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. The wall's razor wire glinted outside, a constant reminder of Evelyn's power. I checked my locks, kept my grandfather's old baseball bat by the bed, and tried to focus on Victor's last text. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we take her down. But I knew Evelyn wouldn't go quietly. A woman who'd casually discussed my murder wasn't going to roll over. As I drifted off, I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The morning of the emergency hearing, the mountain air felt electric, like the calm before a storm. I put on my only suit, the one I'd worn to my divorce hearing, and drove to the courthouse, my stomach a knot of nerves and resolve. At 8:45 a.m., my phone rang. Victor's voice was frantic. Daniel, stay at your cabin. Someone torched my office last night. All our physical evidence is gone. My heart plummeted. Without the documents, we had only digital backups and testimony. But Victor laughed, shaky but defiant. Teaching moment. Mr. Harper always have a backup. Everything's in the cloud. This just proves Evelyn's desperate. The courthouse was packed. Half the town showed up, including my entire third-grade class, on a field trip organized by their room mom. 28 kids in their Sunday best, clutching handmade signs saying, "We love Mr. Harper," added a surreal weight to the moment. Evelyn sat at the defendant's table, flanked by 3 lawyers in suits that cost more than my car. She wore a black dress and pearls, her smile a predator's grin. But I noticed her hands trembling as she sipped water, her makeup failing to hide the shadows under her eyes. For the first time, Evelyn Caldwell looked rattled. Victor was a revelation in the courtroom. Young and unpolished, he moved with the precision of a veteran litigator and the passion of a man on a mission. He laid out our case like a story: the forged HOA documents, the illegal wall, the utility shutoffs, the harassment. Each piece of evidence stacked like bricks, building a wall of guilt around Evelyn. Your Honor, he said, his voice ringing through the silent room. This isn't just about one teacher being bullied. It's about a systematic abuse of power, theft of public funds, and a conspiracy to defraud an entire community. When Karen Thompson took the stand, the air grew heavy. She produced receipts showing Evelyn had siphoned over $300,000 from HOA funds into personal accounts. Then came the bombshell, the audio recording. Evelyn's voice, crisp and chilling, discussed my accident with a Summit Ventures representative. Judge Carter's face shifted from neutral to furious. Mrs. Caldwell, he said, his tone like ice. Are you suggesting in this recording that you planned Mr. Harper's death? Evelyn shot to her feet, her composure shattering. That's out of context, she snapped. He's ruining everything. For 30 years I've worked to build Pinewood into something extraordinary, and this nobody teacher thinks he can tear it down. Judge Carter ordered her to sit, but she ignored him, turning to the gallery with a shriek. You don't understand. My husband, Edward, died on this mountain. He had a Visiona resort, prosperity, a legacy. He mortgaged our lives for it. And Daniel's grandfather refused to sell. Edward died the next day, broken. I've spent 3 decades making his dream real, and I won't let this pathetic man stop me. The courtroom exploded. Spectators gasped, my students' parents whispered furiously, and the judge banged his gavel until the room quieted. Evelyn's lawyers tried to pull her down, but she shoved them away, pointing at me. Yes, there are minerals. Yes, I made a deal. Yes, I took money because I earned it. And you? Her finger jabbed like a knife. You're nothing. A failure your wife couldn't stand. You think you've won? The contracts are signed. The investors are moving. That mountain will be mined. Jail or no jail. Security officers dragged her out, still screaming about destiny. Her lawyers sat stunned, their $1,000 suits useless against her meltdown. Judge Carter cleared his throat. Well, Mrs. Caldwell appears to have confessed to everything. The court is in recess while I review the evidence and consider criminal referrals. Outside, Victor and I tried to process what we'd witnessed. I've seen people crack, he said, but that was biblical. George Mason, now in a wheelchair after a suspicious fall, rolled up. She's been carrying that poison for 30 years, he said. When the dam breaks, it all floods out. My students' parents surrounded us, offering hugs and congratulations. But I couldn't shake a nagging dread. Evelyn had ruled Pinewood like a queen for decades. Her courtroom collapse felt too neat, too final. As we headed back to court, I noticed smoke rising from the direction of my cabin, thick, black smoke, not from a chimney. My heart raced. I sped up the mountain, Victor tailing me in his rattling Honda. Emergency vehicles blocked the road, but I didn't need to get closer to see the truth. My cabin, me grandfather's legacy, my sanctuary was a roaring inferno. And there, at a safe distance, stood Evelyn Caldwell, still in her courtroom dress, clutching an empty gas can. Tears streamed down her face, but her eyes were empty. How? I choked out. She turned to me, not the villain I'd fought, but a broken woman. Bail, she said. My lawyers are good. I wanted to see it burn. If I can't have Edward's dream, no one can. Police swarmed, rearresting her as she whispered, I'm sorry. I almost believed her. Almost. The fire chief approached, his face grim. Total loss, Mr. Harper. Gasoline accelerant. Burned too hot, too fast. Everything was gone. Family photos, my grandmother's quilt, 10 years of teaching materials. I stood numb, watching the flames consume my life. Victor was already on the phone with insurance, fighting the next battle, but George grabbed my arm. Tell me you had cameras. A spark of hope flickered. I'd forgotten the fireproof security camera George had insisted I install in an oak tree, hidden in a birdhouse. Paranoid veteran habits, he'd called them. Now they might save me. Once the fire was contained, I retrieved the memory card. Victor's laptop became our war room. The footage was damning. Evelyn and 2 men dousing the cabin with gasoline at 2 a.m. She directed them like a stage manager, laughing. Get the porch good, she said. I want it to burn hot enough to melt steel. She paused at my door, nailing a photo to the wood before the flames took it. Arson in the 1st degree, Victor said. With premeditation. She's looking at 25 to life. The community's response was overwhelming. A crowdfunding campaign raised $50,000 in 2 days. Mike Larson offered his construction crew for free. The lumberyard donated materials. My students made a banner. Mr. Harper is stronger than fire. A mom handed me a photo album her daughter had made, filled with pictures of every kid I'd taught. So you know what really matters didn't burn, she said. I flipped through it, reading notes in crayon. Thank you for teaching me to read. Best teacher ever. Evelyn had burned my home, but she couldn't touch this. The ashes of my cabin still smoldered when the fight shifted from the courtroom to the community. Evelyn Caldwell's arson had stripped me bare. Every photo, every keepsake, every lesson plan I'd crafted over a decade gone. But it also lit a fire under Pinewood Estates, turning my battle into a collective stand against tyranny. The security footage of Evelyn torching my home wasn't just evidence. It was a rallying cry. Detective Sarah Monroe, who took over the criminal investigation, called it the dumbest arson case I've seen in 20 years. Evelyn had documented her crime in high definition. Within days, her 2 accomplices hired contractors, not killers, cracked under questioning. She paid us $50,000 each. One confessed. Said it was just to scare you into selling. Their testimony unraveled Evelyn's empire. The state attorney general launched a probe into Pinewood HOA, and forensic accountants uncovered millions in embezzled funds. 17 people, including local officials who'd taken bribes, were arrested. The deeper they dug, the uglier it got. While clearing my cabin's foundation for rebuilding, Mike Larson's crew found a sealed mine shaft under the rubble. Inside, $200,000 in cash, documents tying Evelyn to a string of property crimes across Colorado, and a safe deposit box key. That key led to a Denver bank, where investigators found Evelyn's journal, a 30-year chronicle of grief and greed. She wrote of her husband Edward's dream to turn the mountain into a resort, his death after my grandfather refused to sell, and her descent into obsession. The final entry, written the night before the fire, chilled me. If I cannot build Edward's dream, I'll burn it all down. Harper thinks he's won. He'll learn what losing means. It was a portrait of a woman who'd let loss twist her into a monster. But the real game-changer came from Victor Alvarez. 2 weeks after the fire, he called, barely containing his excitement. "Daniel, are you sitting down? I found something in my old law Buxa, Colorado statute from 1887. If a corporation is founded on fraud and harms citizens, those citizens can claim its assets as compensation." He paused, savoring the moment. "The Pinewood HOA parking lot, 2 acres, worth $3 million is yours." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Dead serious," he said. "Judge Carter loves obscure law, and after Evelyn's confession, he'll grant anything we ask." The news hit Pinewood like a thunderbolt. HOA members who'd backed Evelyn scrambled to save face. Some resigned, others begged for mercy, but their reign was over. The parking lot, a symbol of their exclusivity where members paid thousands to park their BMWs, was now in the hands of the teacher they'd tried to crush. Evelyn's trial was set for spring, her bail revoked after the arson. She sat in a cell, her designer suits traded for an orange jumpsuit, while I rebuilt my life. Construction on my new cabin began as winter loomed. The community's support was relentless: materials donated, meals delivered, parents offering spare rooms. My students, those wide-eyed third graders, became my anchor. During reading time, Tommy asked, "Mr. Harper, were you scared when the bad lady burned your house?" I nodded, terrified. But courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right anyway. Their solemn nods reminded me why I fought. The spring brought the final courtroom battle over the parking lot. Victor's 1887 law was a legal relic, but Judge Carter was intrigued. "The age of a law doesn't invalidate it," he said, cutting off Evelyn's former lawyers, now representing the crumbling HOA. "Murder's been illegal since Moses. Shall we legalize that too?" The courtroom laughed, and the lawyers wilted. They argued the lot's $3 million value far exceeded my losses, but Victor was ready. "The law sets losses as a minimum, not a maximum. It's punitive." Mr. Harper endured harassment, emotional distress, and the destruction of his home. Judge Carter turned to me. "Mr. Harper, what would you do with this property?" I stood, my teacher instincts kicking in. "That lot's been a symbol of division, where only the rich could park. I'd turn it into something for every Ionia community garden, a playground, a place to heal. Take what tore us apart and make it bring us together." Carter's eyes twinkled. "Poetic justice isn't law, but in this case, they align." I award the Pinewood HOA parking lot to Daniel Harper. The courtroom erupted. HOA loyalists stormed out, but others, ordinary residents, looked relieved, as if a weight had lifted. Transforming the lot was easier than I'd expected. Hope is a powerful motivator. Mike Larson donated excavation services. A landscape architect, once fined by the HOA for her non-compliant roses, drew up plans for free. My students started a seedling project, growing vegetables for the garden. But Evelyn's allies didn't go quietly. Led by her right-hand man, Roger Blake, they filed an injunction, claiming the lot housed critical infrastructure. At the site, Roger pointed to a shed. "Our internet servers are in there." I opened it to reveal a rusty lawnmower and some moldy tinsel. "Vital infrastructure?" I asked. His face reddened, and the injunction was laughed out of court. Evelyn's sentencing came on a crisp May morning. The courthouse felt somber, the spectacle replaced by reckoning. She shuffled in, shackled, her face stripped of pretense. The prosecutor listed her crimes: arson, embezzlement, conspiracy, and terroristic threats. When given a chance to speak, Evelyn stood, her voice soft. I thought I was honoring Edward, building something meaningful. But I became a bully, hurting people to feel powerful. Mr. Harper, I destroyed your home out of spite. I'm sorry. She faced the gallery. Tell Pinewood I'm sorry. Tell them to enjoy the garden. Judge Carter sentenced her to 15 years, with parole possible in 7. As she was led away, she looked back. I mean it, she said. I'm sorry. Outside, reporters swarmed, but I felt hollow. Justice had won, but the human cost Evelyn's brokenness. My lost home tempered the victory. I gave them a teacher's platitude about healing and moved on. The grand opening of the Pinewood Community Garden was set for June 1st, International Children's Day, a fitting tribute to the kids who'd been my strength through this ordeal. The transformation of the former HOA parking lot was nothing short of miraculous. Where luxury cars once gleamed, raised garden beds burst with tomatoes, zucchini, and marigolds. A playground crafted from recycled tires and wood, anchored in one corner, its slides already scuffed from eager feet. A pavilion, built from timbers salvaged from my burned cabin, offered shade for potlucks and meetings. The centerpiece was a fountain, its basin welded from pieces of Evelyn Caldwell's razor wire wall, the metal twisted into a sculpture spelling out growth through adversity. It was a symbol of what we'd overcome. That morning, as I surveyed the garden, a familiar Mercedes pulled up. My ex-wife, Laura, stepped out alone. Her new husband, the superintendent she'd left me for, stayed in the car. My chest tightened, old wounds threatening to reopen. Daniel, she said, her voice steady but soft. I heard about everything: the fire, the lawsuit, this garden. I was wrong about you. I called you weak, but what you've done here, standing up to that woman, rebuilding after losing it all, that strength I never saw. I'm sorry. For a moment, I wanted to lash out, to throw her betrayal back in her face. But standing in a garden born of forgiveness, I chose grace. Thank you, Laura. I hope you're happy. She nodded, a sad smile flickering. Working on it. You look strong, Daniel. Like the man I should have seen. She left before the ceremony, and I let her go. This day wasn't about the past. The opening was a celebration of renewal. Families who'd once avoided each other swapped recipes over picnic tables. Kids chased each other through the playground, their laughter echoing off the mountains. My third graders, now seasoned advocates, presented a banner. Our teacher is stronger than fire. Lily, the girl who'd asked if I was scared, read a speech she'd written. Mr. Harper taught us that heroes aren't people who don't feel fear, she said, her 8-year-old voice clear. Heroes do good things even when they're scared. The crowd cheered, and I fought back tears. The garden's impact rippled beyond Pinewood. Our story, amplified by news outlets and social media, sparked reform. 3 other Colorado HOAs faced investigations, their abuses exposed in the wake of our fight. The state passed new laws requiring transparency in homeowner associations, no more secret fees or forged documents. Victor Alvarez, no longer a scrappy rookie, opened a law firm specializing in HOA abuse cases. He'd won 19 in the past year, earning the nickname HOA Hammer from grateful clients. You started this, Daniel, he told me over coffee. You showed people they could fight back. Teaching took on new meaning. My classroom became a place to explore justice, resilience, and community. I wove our story into lessons, showing my students how ordinary people could change the world. They responded with their activist anti-bullying campaigns, fundraisers for families facing HOA harassment. Tommy, who'd once struggled with math, organized a bake sale to help a nurse in Denver fight a predatory HOA. You taught us to stand up, he said, handing me $200 in crumpled bills. I'd never been prouder. Evelyn's letters arrived monthly from prison. At first, they were self-pitying, but over time, they shifted. She wrote of a garden she'd started in the prison yard, teaching inmates about soil and composting. For the first time in 30 years, I'm creating, not destroying, she wrote. The irony isn't lost on me. I had to lose everything to find purpose. Thank you for showing me mercy when I showed you none. The tomatoes in your garden came from my seeds. I hope they thrive. I shared excerpts at community meetings, not to absolve her, but to show healing was possible. Some residents forgave her, others couldn't. Both were valid. My personal life found quiet balance. The insurance settlement and community support built a cabin better than the original, with a wide porch overlooking the garden. I dated a little, nothing serious, content with my students, my neighbors, and the rhythm of mountain life. The Pinewood HOA was officially dissolved, replaced by the Pinewood Community Association, voluntary, transparent, focused on service. No fees, no power trips, just neighbors helping neighbors. Even Roger Blake, Evelyn's former enforcer, found redemption. He volunteered at the garden's tech workshop, teaching seniors to use smartphones. I was her muscle for too long, he told me. Maybe I can make it right. A year after the fire, I stood in my cabin, watching the sunrise paint the garden gold. Families tended plots together, their voices mingling with birdsong. The wall that once blocked hope was a distant memory, its steel reborn as art. Pinewood had changed not just the land, but the people. Strangers became friends. Victims found their voices. A community chose connection over control. One afternoon, a teacher from Oregon called, her voice trembling. Our HOA's trying to foreclose on my mom's house over a stupid mailbox rule. How do you fight when they have all the money? I sent her Victor's number and mine. You fight by not fighting alone, I said. Document everything, find allies, and speak up. Their power crumbles when you do. I'd fielded dozens of calls like hers, from nurses, retirees, shop clerks, ordinary people facing petty tyrants. Each one reminded me why I'd fought. As I prepared for another week of teaching, Victor texted, "New case in Ohio. HOA's harassing a veteran over his flagpole. You in?" I smiled, thinking of my students, my garden, my rebuilt life. I'd found peace, but others were still in the trenches. Send the details, I replied. Teachers don't just teach lessons. We live them, sharing knowledge, spreading hope, standing for those still learning to stand. Pinewood's transformation was Evelyn's unintended legacy. She'd wanted a monument to greed and control, but her actions birthed something better, a community rooted in kindness, inclusion, and growth. Her tomatoes did thrive, their vines heavy with fruit, a quiet reminder that even the worst among us can plant seeds for good. Edward, her husband, might have smiled at that, a dream fulfilled not through force but through love. The war against bullies never ends, but it's fought by everyday heroes, teachers, parents, kids who don't yet know their strength. Looking out my window, I saw children playing where a wall once stood, their laughter carried on the breeze. That was a victory. That was home. Thank you for joining Daniel's journey. This story of fighting injustice, rebuilding after loss, and finding redemption resonates because we've all faced bullies, whether in an HOA, a workplace, or a neighborhood. What do you think about the role of community in overcoming oppression? Should Daniel have forgiven Evelyn, or was her punishment too light? How would you handle a tyrant like her in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on justice, forgiveness, and standing up to power. Your voice matters, and it might inspire someone else to take a stand.